This is the YouTuber Iceberg, showing the worst people that were on the platform. At level 1, Ruby Frankie. Ruby used to run a YouTube channel called 8 Passengers, which garnered over 1 million subscribers and posted almost daily videos with her kids. The happy family vlog-type content centered around their everyday family life would later escalate into one of her children trying to sneak out of the house, fleeing to a next-door neighbor to ask for help.
Honestly, my biggest fear ever since I started vlogging was, but what if I wake up and my children are just staring at a wall all day and there's nothing to film? That is legitimately my biggest fear.
The videos she posted at first started out harmless, with content like back-to-school videos and everyday life vlogs with her kids, but escalated to her sharing every part of her parenting, including the harsh punishments she issued on the kids, which were often criticized by viewers for going too far. Before anyone even knew what would later transpire behind the scenes and how bad things really were, she posted an interview with her older son, in which she recalls her harsh parenting methods when he was growing up, recounting the time where she took away his bedroom privileges and had him sleep on a beanbag chair for months. In the interview, he insinuates that the punishments sometimes were too harsh, after which she counters, saying that she thinks they weren't harsh enough, since he's daring to still give her back talk. In another video, she talks about how her daughter is responsible for packing her own middle school lunch, and that she leaves her daughter to go hungry for the day if she fails to do so. After she was called by her daughter's teacher, who was worried about her, and asked Ruby to drive to school to bring her lunch, she refused and took the opportunity to make a video on her decision. After many more incidents like these ones, CPS was dialed in by the teachers and many worried viewers of the channel, though they couldn't find anything wrong when they did a quick visit, and backlash immediately ensued. In August, however, her 12-year-old son went to a neighbor for help, looking very skinny and malnourished and with bruises on him. He told the neighbor that he climbed out of the window despite his age and told him that his mother is hurting and starving him as form of punishment. He was sent to the hospital after emergency services arrived and saw his condition, including deep marks on his arms due to being tied up with a rope. Shortly afterwards, the police arrived to Ruby's house and found more children in similar predicaments, who were too scared to talk to the police.
Where's your sister at? You okay? Huh? You doing okay?
Are you scared?
Ruby and her husband, who was the stepfather to these children, were arrested. Ruby issued an apology following her arrest, quote, "I will never stop crying for hurting your tender souls. You're so precious to me. I'm sorry." However, this apology wasn't received well and didn't change anything, especially when the plea became public and more information surfaced. Ruby admitted to kicking her son with boots, waterboarding him, forcing her kids to do physical work in the sun without water as a form of punishment, making her 9-year-old jump into a cactus multiple times, as well as gaslighting the children into believing that these are all done out of love. She apparently kept a journal of everything she did to them, calling them selfish and insulting them, which was also used as evidence. She is still in prison serving her sentence with a maximum time of 30 years, and her ex-husband is now suing her. Justin Carmichael at level 2 of the Iceberg. The guy known as Jew Warrior was a YouTuber who unalived himself in 2014, which at first received a lot of support, with people supporting him by changing their profile picture to his. That is until they found out what happened behind the scenes that led to him taking these actions, at which point opinions on him shifted drastically into celebration for the fact that he is now gone. Justin started his channel making videos on gaming news and reviewing old NES games and candy. That garnered him over 30,000 subscribers, which is now closer to a few 100,000 subscribers in today's terms. Years after he was gone, a document was released in similar fashion to what happened in the I'm Alex case, detailing things that someone on staff from Channel Awesome did, like SA and harassment, that all led to internal agreement that the guy would be fired on Friday, according to the document. It quickly became known that this person was Justin because some of the stuff wasn't redacted properly. All the creators that previously issued support for him and his family deleted the tribute videos they'd made on him and started distancing themselves from him. Then, a woman went public and said that she is not the Jane Doe from the document, but that she is one of his many victims that he tried to do this to, after which other people came forward who now have all been verified. Apparently, Justin had SA'd multiple women, often waiting for them to pass out first, grooming others and all behind his wife's back. Since all this information came out after he was already gone, his reputation is forever tarnished and there will be no consequences for his actions. It is unknown if any of this contributed to his decision to unalive himself. Romeo Lacoste. Romeo is a very well-known tattoo artist, being known for doing tattoos on Justin Bieber, Kendrick Lamar and other A-list celebrities. Even though he's still active in some ways, with his YouTube channel retaining its over 1 million followers, his reputation is far from what it used to be, and customers are more wary now when deciding whether to support him or not.
Romeo, you have some serious allegations against you. Are you guilty of these things?
I want to say that some are real and some are fabricated.
Romeo started with an admittedly great marketing strategy of DMing people on Instagram with large followings and offering free tattoos in exchange for a shout-out to his page, which not only made his business grow fast, but he was able to network with these people who also recommended him to other celebrities. Everything went great until in 2019 a guy on Twitter posted a screenshot of conversations that Romeo had with 14-year-olds while he was in his mid-20s of an inappropriate nature. Quote, "A few years ago my friends and I made a GC called Romeo's Fruit Cups. One of the girls and I talked more than the others and realized how Romeo would talk to us that seemed off. I was 15 and she was 14 at the time. We came up with a plan to see if our gut feelings was just us overreacting. We decided to make a separate Romeo account from our main to do everything we both decided what to say to him, and at times we didn't have to say much for him to act the way he did. Romeo knew I was underage, yet talked inappropriate. He wanted me and the girl to make a dirty GC for him with other people. He asked for my number and a lot went on there which I don't have the messages anymore, but after everything happened the girl went AWOL and I was left alone with everything, so I stopped and blocked him on everything and have been scared to say anything since." Other users then came forward, including one person who dated him for years, writing, quote, "I'm disgusted by these screenshots, but not at all surprised. Romeo Lacoste has always been a PDF file. We dated for 2+ years when I was 14 to 17 and he was 19 to 22. Our first date ended with us in his shitty Volvo in the parking lot at the park. We were kissing and he put his hands down my pants and covered my mouth when I screamed. He said that it's okay, but we were gonna get caught. He was extremely manipulative and mentally/emotionally draining. He took advantage of our age difference, used guilt to coerce me into doing things I didn't want to. After the backlash escalated and over 10 women shared their experience with him grooming them and asking for pictures, a lot of brands started to distance themselves from him, which really hurt his income. So in order to do some damage control, he did something that probably never made things better in the history of YouTube. He went on an interview with Keemstar. Obviously that only ended up making things worse.
A lot worse than they really are.
Well, were you sexting with 14 and 15-year-old girls?
Well, here's the thing. So, just to kind of get straight into that, and this will go first with my first comment, I was going to say, a lot of people have been asking me why I've deactivated my Twitter, and they're saying, dude, it makes you look guilty, blah, 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 blah. I don't think that people really understand. Like, it's easy for someone to be on the other side of the keyboard, and they want to be involved in something that they think is, you know, very gallant and they're doing like, you know, they're involved for something for the greater good by like calling someone out, but going viral.
Yeah, but I mean, if you were innocent, why didn't you just put out a tweet saying, hey, this isn't true, you know, we're looking into it, like I didn't send these messages. I mean, first of all, did you send these messages to these girls, 14 and 15? Were you sexting with them?
So here's one of the big loopholes is, I don't know if you've seen like the messages and all this stuff that's going on, but I've been accused of shit like this before, and there's like no proof that any of these girls were that age. It's just more like there's sort of like these fake accounts.
Well,
like,
okay, well here's the thing. In the conversation that you had with the alleged girls, there's a part where you say, you know, are you willing to do it before you turn 18?
Yes. So let me address that. So that I'm not going to deny that was real, but here's the big loop about it. Here's the big sort of like, you know, fabrication, smoke and mirrors or whatever that everyone's not getting to see is that, you know, a lot of these girls. I'll just make a quick backtrack. I'll keep it really short.
He is still tattooing, though his reputation is tarnished and less people are willing to go to him these days. At level 3, Jocelyn Hoffman. The downfall of Joss is lesser known because she exclusively posted in Spanish. In Mexico, though, she was a rather big YouTuber, garnering a following of over 1 million subscribers. After a lot of legal trouble and horrendous stuff coming out on her, she is now unanimously despised. Her yacht controversy is what shined a light on her legal troubles initially. In 2019, Joss was in a taxi driving to a small party on a yacht. In the taxi, she filmed the taxi driver while harassing him and posted the whole thing on Facebook saying, quote, "This gentleman that you see over there is a clear example of being a rude, shitty, even-tempered person. The captain of this yacht began to speak to us very ugly. How horrible. Dude, really, how horrible that people like him exist." Later on the vessel, she did the same, filming the captain and acting belligerent, saying to her followers that no one should ever visit his ship. People could clearly see that the taxi driver and the captain didn't do anything to deserve this barrage of hate and criticized her so much that she deleted her social media at the time. Just 2 years later, Joss was arrested for procuring and sharing CP, as well as commenting on forums to share these videos and helping people who filmed them escape prosecution. After a 5-month stay in jail, she pled guilty. Despite all the hate and with a record now, she still occasionally posted on social media for 2 more years until 2024. Her partner filed a protective order against her, which was granted and prohibited her from posting anything on any social media. She has since then gotten another assault charge, but other than that, the internet has gotten rid of her. MadThat890. Up until this point in the video, this guy is definitely the weirdest guy to be covered yet. You might have seen him on memes and thought that it's just some guy obsessed with an anime character. But other than his cringe videos in which he is having fake conversations with her, he is known for making videos with really distasteful topics, like giving a step-by-step guide on how to acquire CP, and also mocking the FBI on Twitter, which backfired on him. He became more known outside of his group of creeps that followed him when in 2010 a new law was due to pass in Japan. This law promised to criminalize the act of any adult drawing such content that he was into in a sexual manner. MadThat was strongly against this law and criticized it in his YouTube videos, saying that it should be okay since they are not real people and just drawings, and that he likes this type of content himself.
Yo, what's up y'all, it's MadThat890 here once again. And I'm seriously pissed off right now, because I was listening to this anime podcast to start listening to, and one of the subjects they had was censorship in America and all that kind of stuff. And I really hate censorship and bullshit. And anyway, there's talking about how when Naruto came over here, the company that did Naruto over in Japan, when they brought it over here, when Viz licensed it, they told Viz that they can't edit shit. I mean, like they can, but you know they can't edit this, like some of the stuff that 4Kids did to One Piece. So it's like, so he said it has to be this amount of blood in there, and you know, they can do. You can't show this, but you can't show this. You know, just.
This newfound notoriety, however, thankfully came to his misfortune when someone gave an anonymous tip to the FBI about him based on his videos. It is unknown who this person was, but given what happened next, I believe that he probably talked to MadThat in the past and didn't just watch his YouTube videos. It turns out that the FBI actually paid him a visit and seized some of his hard drives and other media. Apparently a small USB drive was found filled with 8 GB of CP, and not the drawn stuff that he talked about in his videos, but actual persons. After his arrest, he posted bail right away and managed to behave himself for about 20 minutes. After getting home from jail, he immediately posted this tweet mocking the FBI and basically admitting that the charges against him are true. I don't know how you can come back from an arrest for suspicious online activity and then immediately do more suspicious online activity. In his tweet he writes, quote, "I'm back, missed my waifu, stupid fats didn't even find my backup HD." Hashtag YOLO, hashtag swag, hashtag waifu, hashtag anime pussy. Because of his stupidity, he was rearrested right after the tweet and was sentenced to 5 years, which he served completely. For some reason he is still on YouTube, obviously without a large fanbase, but still posting very actively nonetheless. At level 4, Chris Chan. I'm gonna make a whole video on him, since he was one of the reasons I created this channel, next to iDubbbz and Anissa. German Lorera MX. Lorera is or was a business YouTuber, making videos on growing and building a business, which he said that he had a lot of experience in. He was fairly popular and held in high regard on Mexican YouTube, though he stopped uploading videos recently because of a 50-year prison sentence that got in the way. The irony of the situation is that he preached business advice about slowly growing businesses legally and with a good plan. One day he said fuck all that and decided to get rich quick. He joined a group of 5 other people and hatched a plan to take a woman whose family they thought had money and bring her to a house that, by the way, was rented in Lorera's name. There they contacted her family and asked for 2 million pesos, which at the time converted to $50,000, paid into a Bitcoin wallet, obviously not knowing the first thing about the blockchain and Monero. Even if the ransom had been successful, they would have been able to track him, which they did from his wallet, which he had used previously on KYC websites. The woman was able to be rescued only 2 days later, and Lorera was the first person in the group to be arrested, mostly due to his incompetence. Before his arrest, his career was going well, even speaking at the World Congress of Youth Leaders, but he decided to ruin everything with this stunt. The last thing he publicly said before his arrest is, quote, "If you can't find your dream job, create it and share it with a team. Remember that before entrepreneurs, engineers, graduates or employees of our company, we are human." At level 5, where it's getting really bad, Nazim Akdam. Nazim was an Iranian YouTuber who moved to the US and started being one of those radical vegans, like the YouTuber Vegan Gains, if he were to actually act on his threats. She quickly joined PETA and demonstrated against the use of pigs for military training in the usual PETA-style protests. Although she gained a following with her YouTube videos, comments confirmed that she was basically just a lol-like vegan teacher, merely something to be laughed at, even by the people that technically held the same views as her, quote, "As an Iranian, I can give some insight to her content. She was indeed popular, but nobody considered her an artist, model or bodybuilder. She was just a very big meme. Her videos were kind of like the vegan teacher." Unlike other crazy vegan YouTubers, she actually one day acted on her threats when her crappy YouTube videos weren't getting the attention that she thought they should be getting, confirming that she was just insanely delusional because look at the stuff she posted. The way she went about protesting what she believed in took a drastic turn into the unethical one day. If I sound harsh on her, just wait until you hear what she did to make her YouTube videos gain more attention instead of just producing good content. Before she went on to commit the tragic event, she went on multiple rants and videos talking about how she is being targeted by multiple companies in a grand conspiracy against her because she is vegan, and all the companies, mainly YouTube, were allegedly trying to take her down because of their affinity for meat. She posted a picture of a small nail wedged in her tire and concluded that one of the companies that were after her did this in an attempt to silence her by causing a crash. By the way, all of this happened during the adpocalypse in which even the biggest creators were struggling with getting ads, and since on her channel she posted videos of animals being abused, this might have had something to do with it. In 2018, after the infamous Logan Paul Forest video, YouTube really cracked down on the type of content that was allowed to get ads, which further decreased her revenue to a few cents per video. Nazim got into her car and went missing from her parents for a few days. We now know that in that time she was buying a pistol and practicing using it at the range before driving to the nearest YouTube headquarters in San Diego. She snuck into the building through a back door, in which most employees were gathered in a room having their lunch break. She fired on them and thankfully, due to her incompetence, no one got seriously hit, except for 3 people with injuries. She then turned the piece on herself and slumped down. When the police and emergency services arrived in under 2 minutes, she was already gone and the injured people all survived. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with being vegan and speaking out against animal abuse, but she never committed these actions to help animals, but instead to satisfy her delusions of companies being after her personally. If anything, she did the opposite to help the vegan cause with her actions. Kelly Stapleton. This is a really sad one that ended up with Kelly's daughter saying "I love you, mommy" while being rescued from her after she tried to end both herself and her daughter. Kelly had a daughter with severe autism who was 14 years old at the time. Apparently the daughter was prone to aggression, which Kelly somehow took personally. It seems like the daughter was less aggressive towards the father, but an insight into Kelly's thoughts on her daughter gives some insight into why that might be. Quote, "It was always directed toward me. Her anger and aggression, always toward me. I wondered if that was a consequence of doing a Lova's replication program. Because I've been in her face since before she was 2 years old. It was always touch your nose, touch the apple, do this, do that. And maybe this is sort of a natural consequence to that. I'm not really sure. But I'm sure at this point it is some sort of shaped behavior. Because sometimes even making eye contact with her will trigger a response." In the quote, she's talking about ABA, which is an often criticized program that focuses on getting compliance from autistic people by suppressing any stimuli, basically depriving them of anything to do, which can be excruciating for young people. According to detailed investigations done by journalists and with testimony of her husband, the daughter was never aggressive before Kelly started the ABA quiet hand stuff. Today it's been dubbed a fear response from the program that comes from PTSD symptoms because of it. Every time the daughter would get violent because of the program, Kelly doubled down on it, which created a never-ending cycle until one day she snapped and loaded her daughter and 2 barbecue grills into a van and drove to a camping site under the guise that she and her daughter would barbecue together, which she was excited about. Kelly's husband was suspicious and luckily called the police, who sent paramedics to the camping site. When they arrived, Kelly had already lit both grills inside the van and sat there with the daughter waiting for the carbon monoxide to do its thing. Her husband would later say, quote, "The reality is, Kelly lost hope and had the delusion that people's lives would be better without Izzy. This is where it gets really sad. As while the paramedics were pulling out the daughter to save her from the carbon monoxide, she turned to her mother and said, 'I love you,' before passing out and entering a coma." Kelly immediately played the victim and asked people for sympathy, saying that the situation affected her the most, even though her daughter was in treatment school most of the time, and Kelly still traveled a lot, even going on a trip to Africa every month.
In retrospect, she was going out of her mind, crazy. She gradually began to irrationally see herself as the victim. And this view began to grow. I saw it happening. She would make pleas with agencies to get services that Izzy did need. But she would say things like, "I am going to die," or "She is going to kill me." She says things like, "I did it because I love Izzy, and I love Ainsley." The reality is that she lost hope and had the delusion in her mind that people's lives would be better without Izzy.
She was sentenced to a maximum of 22 years and isn't allowed near her daughter ever again. Her daughter completely recovered and is now staying with Kelly's ex-husband. At level 6, Dolly Flash. Dolly Flash only had around 1,000 subscribers on his YouTube and was inactive on other social media, despite that his name is known in infamy nowadays due to his actions. He started doing clay stop-motion animation on his channel with themes like these, that would foreshadow what he would go on to do later on. Although, especially for his age, the quality of the content was actually impressive. Since a lot of effort goes into films like these, the themes of the episodes limited the potential audience for them. He also talked about wanting to finally lose his virginity, but his mom wouldn't buy him the silicone doll he intended to use for that purpose. Instead, he made one out of clay, though he didn't have any skin-colored clay, and posted an attempted explanation on why it has to be with a doll, but the picture didn't explain much. The downfall started when he tweeted, quote, "I will purchase some hamsters soon as a form of company." He bought 3 hamsters and posted a video titled 3 Hamsters 1 Kid, writing "pin stabbed, drowned, microwaved" on the video, which he would later do on camera and upload that video the next day. The video was taken down though, not before being seen by most of his following. Despite this, he kept uploading content for a few months afterwards until he got fed up with the lack of backlash from the video and decided to spam the video on multiple accounts, posting the links to different subreddits and forums. Just a week after that, he got arrested on 3 counts of harm against animals. Instead of going to trial, he pled guilty right away and is still inactive on all social media. At level 7, Trent Paschal. Trent Paschal was running a very successful business, making over $1 million per year in revenue, occasionally showcasing some short YouTube videos. A, from the outside, seemingly happy marriage and life would soon escalate in the most disturbing way, however, which started when he accused his wife of cheating repeatedly. His wife was 18 years younger than him, which he often cited as the reason for her wanting to cheat for some reason. Despite her denying it every time, and until this day it is unclear if she ever actually cheated on him, his paranoia grew until he was controlling every aspect of her life, including what to wear. He went as far as installing spying software on her phone, but without her knowledge that he could use to constantly get access to her location information as well as her microphone. One day he snapped and uploaded this video on YouTube, obviously crying crocodile tears.
I'm recording this because I want my daughter to know that I love you. I'm so sorry that I've done this. I want you to know that you mean everything to me. I didn't choose this. Your mom chose this. She's been cheating on me for a long time. There's an 18-year-old difference in her age. And I knew she was kind of too young, but she's been playing me for a fool. I told her not to mess with me, not to mess with my emotions. Don't play with me. I'm like, why me? My hair's a mess and I look horrible. Oh, sorry. Take these off. I'm so sorry. I don't have better words right now. I'm hurting so bad. I don't know what else to do anymore.
In the video he blames everyone but himself, showing his narcissism, and somehow acts like he doesn't want any harm done to his kids, even though just after uploading the video he went on to do exactly that. Once again he accused his wife of cheating, who had enough of him controlling every aspect of her life, and wanted to tell him face to face that she was going to file for divorce. He then locked her and the kids into a room with him, took out his piece and tried to fire at them. His wife slumped down, but he missed his daughter, who escaped and called for help. Right afterwards he was seen on his phone calling his wife's aunt to brag about what he had done, and fled. When police caught up to him and asked him to put down his weapon, he refused and was shot by the officers. He somehow survived, and after recovering and being immediately arrested, somehow got bail and fled to Florida. When he was found 9 months later and police confronted them, he took himself out in front of the officers. Stephen McCulloch. Stephen was a real idiot who posted a live stream to YouTube to cover up allegedly unaliving his girlfriend Natalie by crafting this fake alibi. He thought that the fact that he was live streaming during her disappearance would give him reasonable doubt and a tight alibi that he could have done nothing to do with the crime. When investigators found out that the livestream was saved on his computer and recorded days before the livestream was supposed to be live on YouTube, the police got suspicious and looked more into that night. It started when his girlfriend Natalie got pregnant by accident after the two had been together for only a few months. She wanted to keep it, and he didn't, but he stayed together with her and allegedly planned to be a good father to the child. During a weekend near Christmas, she went to her parents who lived nearby to her own house to watch the soccer game together with them. Stephen at the time said that he would do a YouTube livestream on that night before Christmas, while Natalie went back to her house to wrap some gifts. Stephen only had about 35,000 subscribers, but was popular among them with videos on collectible toys and occasional gaming live streams, though he only did like 3 of those before this incident. The 6-hour-long stream went on that night as promised, in which he got very drunk and barely spoke. Natalie didn't return to work the next day, and her colleagues at work got spooked because of how out of character this was for her. Stephen, who also lived nearby, went to her house right away to check if she was okay. He told the police later that he found her for the first time on the ground covered in blood. The police, however, found his demeanor very suspicious right from the start and actually arrested him and took him in for questioning, something that is very rarely done to avoid more psychological stress on usually innocent loved ones. As planned, he told them during the questioning that he has an airtight alibi as he was live streaming on YouTube and that they can check the upload date on the stream, and instead tried to shift blame to her ex-boyfriend, who he said is likely to have done it. He was let go, but the police couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about his demeanor, as he never called the police for any updates and continued his YouTube videos with the usual schedule as if nothing is wrong. Friends and family also said that he was acting his normal self, if anything seeming happier than usual. Over the next few weeks, CCTV footage was compiled from all around the area, and they found footage of a guy walking to a house at night. The knife that was used in the act came from inside her kitchen, and there were no signs of forced entry, so they knew it had to be someone close to her, who probably had a key. This time they took a closer look at Steven's livestream, in which he said right at the beginning that OBS was having issues and for some reason he couldn't see the chat, so told his viewers to just talk amongst themselves while he plays GTA without interacting to anything happening live, which was very convenient.
Well, because this streaming software is kind of up the left, it means I can't check the live chat, which is a real shame. So, by all means, talk amongst yourselves. I could use my phone to dip in every now and again and check it, but I've decided that I kind of hate live streams where people just sit and read comments and go, "Oh my god, yes, ask me questions, better." And also, if I go on my phone for too long, I'll end up just scrolling through TikTok. And
the video file of the stream was saved on his computer, but the date didn't match up as it showed that the stream had clearly been recorded in advance and didn't actually portray the events of the night Natalie went missing, meaning he had no alibi for that night after all and lied to the detectives about the stream. They connected the dots and realized that he had planned the whole thing all along and arrested him again. During the 6-hour stream of a drunk guy struggling to play GTA, they found multiple instances where he insinuated his crimes in the video and laughed to himself.
Yeah, that's physics. That's what would happen in the real world. Abso-fucking-notly. Abso-fucking-notly. Back into work on Wednesday, then off until New Year's, so it'll be enough time to rest, relax, spend time with my loved ones. Actually, it'll be a really fucking good Christmas this year. But yes, sorry, I'm getting horribly distracted. I'll tell you something. I made a real pig's ear of that. I just sat down and I pulled the controller and the headphones off the table, which hit the keypad.
His fate was sealed when the taxi driver testified that he drove him on the night where the livestream was supposed to be going on. He is still locked up and waiting for trial, but the alleged evidence seems to be overwhelming. Stan Reeflay. Stan locked his girlfriend outside the house during Russian winter for a donation of a few dollars, and all live on stream. He is a Russian trash streamer, known for getting belligerent on camera and being a nuisance to the entire country for entertainment. He will do anything for donations basically, even though it was only a few dollars sometimes for very extreme stuff. In return for as little as 70 cents, he would often beat up people on stream, including women and homeless people whom he would offer free shelter in exchange for being props for his stream. Stan would beat these guys up on stream and they didn't even get any of the donation money. Like once, when a disabled homeless guy had enough of the treatment he was getting and wanted to escape into the Russian winter instead of living with him. Stan instead caught him, took his phone and tossed it out of the window, breaking it. Then, when Stan started messing with a girl who previously worked as an escort, he pepper sprayed her for a 70-cent donation. Apparently she actually liked him for some reason, and he supplied her with alcohol for a drinking habit. To him she was just another prop though, and he just kept her around because his viewers liked the entertainment that he could use her for, to farm donations. During one stream another girl was around who also apparently liked Stan, and got into a physical fight with the other woman, all on camera. When things calmed down, the viewers' donations had amounted to $1,000, and they told him in return to lock the woman who started it outside, even though she was already in bad shape from hitting her neck during the fight and was pregnant at the time. About half an hour later, he remembers that she is locked outside and suspiciously quiet. He slowly gets up without any urgency. While pulling her inside, he keeps talking to his viewers on stream and shows the body to the camera until the police arrives and he's taken into custody. He was sentenced to only 6 years, and a few months ago, after serving 3 years, he got transferred into a low-security camp, which garnered some backlash over there. Samantha Woolford. Samantha was a YouTuber who wanted attention and to be seen as a victim, so she unalived her husband, saying that it is because of him gaming with female characters. The story and Samantha's YouTube career started when she got pregnant with twins. After their birth, she broke up with her husband and shortly afterwards met a new guy named Ernie, who she would later marry. Ernie was a great guy according to people who knew them, and ended up working 2 jobs to support Samantha and her children. Samantha never worked and instead stayed home to focus on raising the children, though according to her, most of her time was spent playing video games and watching TV. When Ernie came home from his 2 jobs, he would play World of Warcraft and role-playing games to unwind, where apparently he virtually married another player in the game, who by the way he never met. I'm not sure if it even was actually a woman or some catfish, but either way Samantha lost it because of his fake virtual marriage in-game. She also for some reason had a problem with him spending so much time gaming, even though she said herself that that's what she does all day herself, while Ernie works 2 jobs. In her YouTube videos, she was basically delusional and thought that she had many die-hard fans and a career that was just about to develop into a full-time career on YouTube and acting, even though she had under 100 subscribers. Most of her videos consisted of rants about her husband and making up stories that in hindsight were proven to be false, to garner sympathy and attention from people. Samantha decided to play the victim card like in her videos once again and cooked up a horrible scheme to get rid of her husband and not only escape consequences but to get sympathy for the situation. In 2015, Samantha's plan came to fruition when her aunt called the police to report a home invasion.
Cause County 911, what's your emergency?
I have a home invasion. My niece is tied up. I am at the verge of untying my niece at this particular moment.
Okay, she's tied up.
She is tied up and gagged.
And gagged? Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anybody else there?
Where are the kids? We have 5 small infants asleep.
Hello. Hi, Samantha. I know you're upset, but I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Do you need EMS?
No, they didn't do anything to me. They hit me once.
She's advising no, they only hit her once. Okay.
I just asked my aunt if it was bruising or anything, and she said no, they hit me in the face.
Okay, they hit you in the face?
Yeah, they had me tied up and they dragged me down the stairs to face my husband, and when my husband went in to face me, they hit me in the face.
After the police came, Samantha told her first story of the line of events that happened. She claimed that 3 masked men entered the house, hit Ernie and then took him away after hog-tying her. She said that she was able to get to the phone and call her aunt for help, something that the investigators would later scrutinize. During questioning, the police will usually keep the questions to a minimum to avoid traumatizing the victim after such an incident, but everything about her demeanor was off according to them, which just shows that she barely rehearsed the story, which didn't add up at all.
Walk me through what happened.
I don't honestly know what happened. I was in bed asleep, and we heard a noise, and the second I was able to open my eyes, somebody grabbed me and jerked me out of the bed and slammed me down on the ground and started tying me up. They took his phone, but they didn't take mine. I had mine hidden. So I was able to...
So he's got his phone? Let's get this all figured out.
I don't see how me writing a statement is in the crucial hours of you finding my husband.
It is, because, I mean, this may help you trigger something to help us, you know.
The whole interrogation was like a gym can't swim situation, and I can see a 2-hour-long video being made on just that. Basically, to save herself, when the police made it clear that they don't believe her, she gave up the names of her accomplices and said that they did the whole thing as a favor to her and that she is innocent in all this. Investigators found deleted chat logs on her phone, disproving this, however, that clearly showed that she is the one who planned the whole thing and hired a guy named Jonathan to carry it out. During his own investigation, Jonathan confessed right away, but was able to prove that he also was misled by Samantha, who had told him that Ernie was mistreating her and her children, which all turned out to be untrue. Both pled guilty, and Samantha was sentenced to 50 years, which was then retrialed, and another 99 years were added on top of the 50 years, which have to be served consecutively. So even if she beats the first charge, she's not getting out. She's now on jail babes offering pen pal relationships. Daniel Bartlam. This guy is a real psycho and a similar case as the previous one. There are some evil people out there, but most of them, even in prisons, could never do what Daniel did at 14 years old. The only thing about his upbringing that's important to note, before saying what he did, is that he was a very spoiled kid and had a 6-year-old brother. He went to a private school, made YouTube videos about his new iMac and other spoiled kid stuff. When his parents divorced and he stayed with his mother, she couldn't even move house unless Daniel signed off on it and basically had the last say in every decision, even though he was only 14 at the time. The incident started when Daniel was on the news, hailed as a hero by the entire community for saving his little brother from a house fire. The story went that he saw his mother already gone and decided to save the family dog as well. The investigation concluded that Daniel's mother didn't die from the fire, but instead 14 strokes with a hammer and never experienced the fire itself. The fire investigators also concluded that the fire was started by someone pouring gasoline on the bed. When it became clear that this wasn't an accidental house fire, the police questioned Daniel, originally as a witness, due to the nature of the incident. During questioning, he was acting suspicious apparently, and his story seemed too good to be true, albeit very well rehearsed. In Daniel's version of events, he got up in the middle of the night to get a glass of water and saw a masked man standing in his hallway with a hammer. Daniel said that he saw the hammer, took it and threw it at the intruder, who then ran out the house. He then recalls that he walked around the house, checking every room until he discovered his mother with the fire raging on her bed. That's allegedly when he decided to save his brother and dog. Daniel was arrested and his neighbors were interviewed about the incident. The neighbors said that right before the fire they just heard a fight between Daniel and his mom, but no one else. Daniel was heard exiting the house to the back garden and kept screaming at his mother, but she was rather quiet and just told him to calm down. A wooden shed door was then heard being opened and closed. According to the neighbors, a minute later, the mother was heard this time screaming intensely. While Daniel was still in custody and having interviewed his neighbors, the police searched his electronics as well. He had a search history with the typical stuff like getting rid of bodies. And a fictional story in which the main character, who has the exact same name as Daniel, gets away with unaliving his mother and burning the house. He let it slip at some point that he did it, and eventually, after realizing how much evidence the police have against him, confessed to the crime, saying that it was only a spur-of-the-moment thing and tried to get it down to a second-degree offense. The jury basically wasn't having it, and he was given a life sentence with the chance of parole after 16 years. Claudia Hernandez Santos. This YouTuber thought that her daughter was possessed and did an exorcism that lasted all night, which ended with the passing of that child. Shortly afterwards, I swear that's what she did. She films a vlog in her car, talking about the story and announcing a new channel where she's giving parenting advice. She even said, "I don't want to tell you what to do, but if I know it's the right thing for your kid, I'm gonna tell you what to do and you should do it." In her video, she recalls meeting her husband in 2016. And shortly after meeting him got pregnant unexpectedly. Even though it was unplanned, they were both happy with the development and excited to be parents. That's the condensed version, since she talks completely unfiltered for about half an hour and it's difficult to watch.
During those months, I remember because I remember after the fourth month, after I told somebody, after we told everybody else, I decided to post it on my Snapchat. I remember I was like, I'm not gonna tell nobody. I remember when she first started kicking my stomach, it was just like, I remember her little kicks, and I was just so excited, because I was just like, I'm gonna have my own baby, and
It's crazy, for in the video she tells the story completely unfazed, laughing at multiple points when talking about the daughter and the pregnancy as if she was still alive and well.
No, I didn't move back and forth. I'm tripping like that. I remember when I think I was like, what, 6 months, 7 months? I moved back here, right, with my mom. And I remember my whole pregnancy, I would crave her food, but since she was far, I couldn't, she couldn't give me her food, but...
In 2021, Claudia, her husband and grandfather got together and prayed with the 3-year-old. Claudia's grandfather saw the kid moving her arms while sleeping and mumbling the word no, and decided with his expertise that this wasn't a simple nightmare, but a possession instead. He told Claudia that he had experience and success with exorcisms in the past. Apparently, to get rid of this was through making her vomit, by trying to stick a finger in her throat, holding her by the neck. After they attempted this all night, she had severe hemorrhage in her brain, and emergency services were called about 6 hours later, which was done purposely for some reason. According to the medics, she might have been saved if the emergency services would have been called right away. She and her grandfather and husband faced 25 to life and pled not guilty. They are free now, but the prosecution is still fighting appeals. I can't help but feel sorry for her, as watching the video you can tell she clearly loved her, but came across incredibly naive and tone-deaf. At level 8, Big Slims. He probably called his channel Big Slims due to misspelling Big Slimes, since his profile picture is of a Minecraft slime. He posted a single video, playing Skyblocks and insinuating filming something else at the end of the video, after which he commits a heinous act. In 2014, a Russian 14-year-old in Crimea posted this video of inexplicable gameplay, filmed with Bandicap at 144p resolution. In the video he basically foreshadows what he would later do, with his dark sense of humor. He went on to take arms and unalive 20 people in his college and himself, for reasons we still don't know. All we know is about his upbringing, like when he posted the Minecraft video on YouTube. His mother, who was a Jehovah's Witness, didn't allow him to have friends, and his father was a drunk who hit everyone in the house. He didn't have any hobbies, had bad grades and no real friends. Trey Sessler. Trey had a YouTube channel in the old days of YouTube, where AdSense was still a new and kind of unknown thing for YouTubers. The channel was pretty popular and he made videos on games and reviewing some firearms and consoles. Even though his video only garnered a few 10,000 views each, this was a lot back in the day and enough to actually make a living off. With his subscribers steadily rising, he eventually even got a real-life job in film production, which was his dream job alongside YouTube. Everything was perfect. Out of nowhere, and I know about this case for more than a decade and still don't get it. He decided to fuck everything up that he had going for him. One day in 2012, he persuaded his mother to come into the garage with him to show her something. There he ended her with dozens of shots, before going into the living room and doing the same to his father and brothers. We don't know why he did, and neither does he seemingly. Right after he finished, he wrote the following on the wall of his house, quote, "I love my mom, dad and brother. Why did I do this? God forgive me because I can't forgive myself." After writing this, he still went to a football game to continue his spree, but decided against it on his way and confessed instead. He has been locked up for more than a decade and still never said anything about a possible motive. Even though all of his devices were searched and they found evidence that he liked arms, there was no indication like journal entries showing that he planned this incident for a long time. Randy Stair. I made a whole 40-minute video on him already and dove very deep into his journals and video diaries there. The guy started becoming obsessed with Amber from Danny Phantom and believed that not only is she real, but also other characters that he made up. He called the whole thing EGS, Amber's Ghost Squad, and believed that he would become a Ghost Girl villain in the afterlife as well. In his diary of over 150 pages, you can see his gradual mental decline, leading him to unaliving 3 of his co-workers and then himself to fulfill his fantasy of EGS. He became pretty popular on YouTube because of a video that went viral involving a truck that was featured on Equals3 and Tosh.0. For the time he garnered a respectable following at first, but when his ideation started for the afterlife and his obsession grew, Amber started being featured in more and more of his videos in the form of a drawing he made using the Call of Duty in-game avatar creator. People at that point already started distancing themselves from him, and some tried to get him help with his obsession. Over time he spiraled deeper and deeper into this delusion until he decided to flip a coin to decide whether to take other people along with him or do it alone. Sadly, the coin decided that he would take other people with him to the EGS, according to him. He did it during the night shift at his job. It's a very interesting topic, and I read every page and watched like 90 gigabytes of footage from the tapes, so check out my video on him if you want to hear a more in-depth view of the story. Also, please subscribe and thank you for watching to the end.